VPN at technophilespodcast.com. I'm David Geisler, and this is the Technophiles Podcast. All right, everybody, we are back to the show. This is part 2. I'm here with part of the regular cast, V. Lobbs and Krista Lee Malone. Jake Gill is out of town this week, as I said in part 1, so he is not with us tonight. But, if I may, here in part 2, I'd like to kind of quickly talk about what Amazon did today, or a couple days ago, but as of the recording of this episode this morning.
Tell us about it.
So did you go see this thing about Lumberyard at all?
When I was looking at the news, I saw the headline, but whatever they were putting the headline as wasn't grabbing me too much, but I am willing to learn.
So here's the thing, it didn't grab me at first either, and I was actually looking at maybe some other stories, and I actually had a different story for me to talk about. I was going to talk about, I don't even remember, something with video. It was close. Yeah. It was like some virtual reality thing. But this is all about virtual reality as well.
Is. See, like, every headline was like, it has something to do with a zombie apocalypse clause or whatever. And I was like, I don't care about this.
Never heard about that.
Like, Verge was advertising it like that. And I was like, I don't get what's going on.
Zombie apocalypse clause?
I had no idea it was video games. They just kept showing a screenshot from the Walking Dead game.
Weird. What websites were you on this morning?
The Verge.
The Verge.
Well, I think when you have zombie apocalypse, really you're either talking about video games, TV, or my class.
Okay.
One or the other.
All right.
So anyway, Amazon released an engine to build games on, for people to build games on, called Lumberyard. And it's super duper versatile. It's compatible with Xbox code and PlayStation code and other things and all that kind of stuff. And it has its own online service. It has Twitch integration built into the engine, because we might forget, but we actually talked about this in one of our live shows. Amazon bought Twitch a year ago.
Oh, that's right.
It's easy to forget that.
I know.
I know.
Evidence
Remember,
here.
It was YouTube and obviously Google and YouTube trying to do their free streaming stuff.
Yeah.
And Amazon bought Twitch. So this engine is very impressive. A lot of people are like, what? Amazon is going to get into the gaming business, you know?
Yeah.
But what's even crazier is that built into this engine is, from the ground up, virtual reality interface. So like things like Oculus Rift and stuff, not just as peripherals anymore, not just patch code, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Part of the engine will be virtual reality interface. The final thing that everybody's losing their minds over right now is that this engine will be completely free.
Get out.
Everybody and anybody can download it and write code on it and write their own games on it, and they don't have to pay Amazon anything.
That is bonkers.
Right. So you could theoretically you could build your own game now.
Oh my God. Even
if you're a small little startup studio, you could build it and port it, and apparently it transfers very easily to like Xbox code and PlayStation code and stuff like that. This is where I get lost a little bit, is where those things transfer. You know what I mean? When we understand the concepts of a port or the concepts of an emulation, stuff like that, it gets a little more complicated. But there's like all of these other code interfaces that this will interact with. So I can't get too deep into that. I hope some of our listeners actually kind of chime in the comments about this, because I can't talk about that as much because I haven't written a video game yet. However, one of the things, you never know.
Hey, you could now.
Let's do it.
I'm going to write a game where you run a company and make everything for free so that people get your subscription, and then you have the hook set for the rest of your life, and it'll be called Bamazon Crime.
Vice City.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm kind of joking a little bit, but I'm obviously joking a lot, but it's not a secret that Amazon's strategy always, even from the days when they did only sell books, was so kind of famously, Amazon has lost money over the last decade nonstop.
Yes.
They're in it for the long game. Their long game is 20 years from now, 30 years from now, people will be they want user base. They're willing to lose money for user base.
Yeah, to gain that
that's
loyalty.
Okay. I'll point out that I'm not, I'm being a little bit of an Apple fanboy here, but like a lot of people criticize Apple for that, but like Amazon's there, and sometimes even more so, to be honest. And I don't hate Amazon. I don't mind it. I think some of their business strategies are actually pretty interesting and very exciting. So this game engine is just a further extension of that. They kind of want to control all the games. You know what I mean? In many ways. They want to make it so easy to use. And maybe that's where the zombie apocalypse comes in. It's like, it's almost viral. Like, how can you not write in this engine?
Yeah.
It's super easy to use. Apparently it really is beautiful. They also have an online service built into it, and there might be some payment for using that service if you're making like a multiplayer, not local multiplayer. But they have. I went to their website and actually read their FAQ, and they said that if you were conceivably, if you were building a single player game that didn't need a server for multiplayer or a local multiplayer game, you pay nothing. You could just give that game away or sell it to people or whatever. And then with the Twitch integration and all of that.
Wow.
Finally, last but not least, basically what it all comes down to is Amazon. This is really, our industry is going in a way that is a little hard for me to digest right now. I'm very pro self-driving cars. One thing that's a little harder for me to get on board with is that Apple, Google, I don't think I'm incorrect in saying this, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Sony, and Amazon genuinely believe that most of us are going to have things strapped to our faces in 4 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're really gung-ho about it.
Like they it's in their math that that's how we're going to live in 4 years or whatever. Virtual reality is like there's this real boom that is being predicted. And I don't think it's going to be a flash in the pan. I think it's going to be the fact that we have augmented reality and it's going to be this integration. You know what I mean? So that's what they're really doing here. Fine, you get to make games. They're willing to let people make games for free on their engine to get more control of like the goggles. It's a little bit of the give away the razor blades but give away the razor handles but sell the blades for a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
And the thing that is kind of good though, I'm not hating on Amazon, is in their FAQ, they blatantly say this is our strategy. And you can, if you do it this way, you'll pay us a little bit of money this way. We are in this for the long game. We want to sell the hard, all that kind of stuff. And if you do it this way, you don't have to pay anything. Like they're totally front and center with it.
Wow.
Can I ask your thoughts at all about what's going on here?
That is brilliant. Like it's just like, hey, we have the engine. If you need computer parts, if you need books about how to code programs or games or whatever, we have those.
Furthermore, this engine isn't exclusive to Amazon hardware or products.
Yeah.
It's open to everything. They just know that the percentage, they'll still get a boost even if others do as well.
Yeah.
And it's still enough for them to make sense.
Yeah. And with like the whole VR thing, it's like, maybe there aren't a ton of very big studios that are really into programming for it right now, but the people who are fans of it and want to play with it.
Well, once you're programming it ground up.
Yeah. It's like, okay, now we have all these games. We have a massive library. VR Go, it's going to be great. Yeah. Like you have everything to play with now because people are doing stuff on their own because they have this engine open and available to them. It cuts out a lot of the work.
Is this the zombie apocalypse metaphor? Is this too good to be true? People sign up and then they're lost. They're one of them.
I still don't know what that metaphor was about.
I don't know about that. I do think, and they mentioned this also like straight up on the Amazon site. This has great appeal to small indie developers and students who don't have money. Now, especially with the students, if this is their first experience, this is the first engine they use, this is what they learn.
That's what they're going to keep using when they own a bigger company.
Exactly. And then, of course, once they get to that point where they want the bigger company and they want to make the bigger game, you want a multiplayer? Well, now you pay a little, or now you want the online, etc.
This happened in the world of video editing a little bit. 10 or 15 years ago, basically everything was done on Avids. When we were kind of still transitioning into digital editing, there was these big computer machines and all that, and Avids still exist and stuff. But you started seeing actual television companies and films genuinely accepting Final Cut Pro, not so much Premiere, but now these days, editing video on Premiere is a completely acceptable professional way to edit film and television and many things. The reason is 10, 15 years ago, the people that are now in those companies doing this learned that software in college. This is Amazon's betting a lot on this, and I have to say, I don't know if it's a large risk.
I don't think so.
I think this makes sense.
I don't think even if it doesn't like grow to the point that they're hoping for, I don't think they're going to lose much. They
want entire video game companies to be using their engine 10 years from now. Like that's one of their, you see where I'm going with this? And we know how that works because the college kid who doesn't have money right now writes code here and they just like that language.
Yeah.
Like if honestly, let's say I use Premiere and I used to use Final Cut when I was editing video stuff. If I went to a studio where they only had Avids at this point, I might be a little less inclined to work there. I'm not joking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I did find the zombie clause. It's in the terms of service for the software Lumberyard.
Okay.
It says, don't use it for life critical or safety critical systems such as medical equipment, automated transportation, autonomous vehicles, aircraft control, manned spacecraft, military, whatever.
Yep.
Unless this restriction does not apply in the event of the occurrence certified by the United States Center of Disease Control or successor body of a widespread viral infection transmitted via bites or contact with bodily fluids that causes human corpses to reanimate and to consume living human flesh, blood, brain, or nerve tissue, and is likely to result in the fall of organized civilization.
I love it.
That is.
So there's literally a zombie clause in there.
So in all of the legalese that they have for using Lumberyard, they've thrown in this clause where you can...
They did have a thing on their FAQ. That's amazing. I love it. They did have a thing on their FAQ where it was like, can I use it for things other than games? Can I use it for modeling and simulations and presentations and filmmaking? And they said, yes, please. There could be entire animated films 10 years from now or less than.
Yeah.
Just built in this engine. You know what I mean?
That's wild.
This is a deep hook they're setting here.
It is, but they're also going to have to continuously update it if they're looking for the long game, right? So right now, I think there's very little risk to them, but they're guaranteed to not go anywhere if they don't keep putting forth the time and effort.
Yeah,
and I don't doubt for a second that won't happen.
Yeah, I'm sure, because from everything I've read about Bezos, is that how you pronounce it?
What?
The guy
Bezos?
who owns it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I've only seen it written. I've never heard anyone say
that's
his
true.
name.
I don't know how to say it.
Jeff. From everything I've read about Jeff,
good old Jeff.
Yeah, he seems
Jeff
like
Amazon.
He's gonna
Amazon Jeff. Jeff from Amazon.
He knows what he's doing. Not that I've agreed with everything he's done, and obviously he's had a couple of failures, but
the business model. Amazon's business model is good. I mean, if their bubble's gonna burst, it's gonna happen 30 years from now, and it's gonna be a heck of a bubble. Like, this is the long play. They're doing a long play here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's going to take half a century to find out if it works for them or not. It's probably going to work for them.
Yeah.
The thing that's a little bit of a bummer is it's such an aggressive strategy that, 8 years ago, all the little bookshops couldn't stay in business anymore because they couldn't compete with Amazon. That was a little bit of a bummer. But now, when I think about giving away this free engine, in some kind of weird twist, like, what is the simile here? In a weird twist, they're letting the small book, the metaphorical small bookstores now, they're paying their rent.
Yeah.
They can go write games and they can write software. Maybe it's nice. Maybe they've been able to twist this thing into a positive.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing it on their land.
Yeah.
That may not be so bad. The land is open. You're not locked in.
Yeah.
They say, hey, come be here.
But will it always be free?
Well, we don't know.
Right. So this might be just the hook, and then later on you have a whole generation of students who use it for free, and now they have to pay for it.
Right, and that's a little bit of the fear. Even if Amazon's saying that's not the case right now, you have one CEO change, and who knows what happens.
Actually, that makes me wonder if this ever runs, if something like this, as well as most of Amazon's business practices, actually run into problems with that law that I can't remember the name of, but there's a law about pricing things under
like the suggested retail?
Yeah, there's actually a law in some places against marking things at a loss, and this is specifically to prevent big companies from putting little companies out.
Interesting.
And I mean, if you have something like this where it's straight up free, I'm not sure how.
We haven't had much time to digest this story because it just happened a few hours ago.
Yeah.
However, maybe on Twitter, I'm going to keep my eye on this. I'd kind of love to see what Microsoft thinks of this, what Sony thinks of this. Nintendo probably doesn't care because they're off. They're in a weird way. They're kind of off doing their own thing that's very similar.
Yeah.
We all know we had a Nintendo NX episode on branching dialogue, and if I may just real quick, basically Nintendo is writing their next console is going to be an engine, not a console. So it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to be Amazon, Steam, Nintendo.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think you're right. We are talking about this story so early that we could probably revisit this.
All we can do right now is speculate the Amazon strategy.
Right.
And it was interesting enough to talk about. And that's why I said some of this, it goes bigger than what we can say today.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And just to think about, like, Unreal Engine 4 just went free last year in March. Like,
it did. I didn't know it was free.
Yeah, evidently either it still is or it was for a short time. But typically you would pay like $19 a month or something like that.
Sure.
To use it. But it's free. I think Unity is also free.
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure because I see a metric butt ton of games that have the Unity engine.
Yeah, I see a lot of Unity too.
Yeah.
So maybe they had to put this out free to even break in.
Yeah. Who knows? And that could open the door to them, playing with it more and having like a better version of it.
Curious.
Maybe that'll be called
VR
the, like,
integration,
Smithery.
part of the OS, part of the system.
Lumberyard.
VR integrated, Twitch integrated. We'll see.
Yeah, so I would be like, if we do visit this again, like later on down the road, I would be interested in seeing one, if it makes a difference on Twitch, right? So like I watch things on Twitch every once in a while. Like, is there going to be a note from the audience perspective? Is there going to be anything noticeable? Perhaps from the streamer perspective, is there anything noticeable?
The very first thing I can think of is, sometimes we'll toss around, sometimes it happens on Branching Dialogue, sometimes it happens here, we'll toss around the idea of all, viewer angles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That could incredibly easily be built into this, have to be part of this engine now.
Oh my gosh.
So like dynamic streaming is what I'm trying to say. Like there might be
Sure.
ways now where the engine you're watching, and yes, Twitch is just video streams right now, but it's conceivable that you could have dynamic streaming because it's going to be so deeply integrated. You're not just playing a game, literally recording those frame by frame and putting it onto another screen,
right?
Which is what Twitch is right now. Maybe it could be coming out of the game. I don't know.
But there's other things I'd like to hear about. I'd like to hear when like the first few games come out.
See what
Like
they're like.
streaming or
Amazon
not.
said that they already are working on a few, but they aren't going to show them yet. And we'll have to see who else. This has kind of surprised a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's get out of here. Come back and talk all about drivers as cars. Cars as humans.
Cars as humans, as drivers.
As drivers. I love it. All right. So, yes, we'll be back in part 3 to talk all about the DOT and Google. And it sounds like they might have figured some things out here. Because that's the big fear for people who don't know much about self-driving cars is like, oh, who sues the robot when the robot crashes into my dog?
Exactly,
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's fair. So in the meantime, people can tweet me, David Geiser at Raptor Paint. I'd love to talk to people about this engine. Crystal Lee, people can find you on Twitter.
At GamerAnthro.
And V.
At bear_Annika.
Fantastic. We love it when people tweet the show at Technophiles Pod or find us on iTunes, Facebook, Stitcher, and YouTube by searching Technophiles Podcast or go to our actual website, technophilespodcast.com. All right, let's do it. Part 3, here we come.